Thanks everyone for joining this first show on a rock band from MusicBuddies. This is a slightly unusual band because it's not really a rock band, but more of a heavy metal band. But we have Nihar here, who is obsessed with Black Sabbath, and a couple of other people who are also like Rohit, who plays the guitar, and he says he's been heavily influenced by Black Sabbath. So quite appropriate that we are starting with Black Sabbath, and uh, depending on the popularity of the show, I'm sure we'll do a lot more rock-based shows as part of the Music Buddies events moving forward. So over to Nihar to take it on from here. Thanks, Nihar.
Thank you. To give further on this, I wrote a research paper on Black Sabbath way back in 2014 as a part of my master's degree. To ensure I got to the second year, I chose Black Sabbath as research topic. That's the long story short of it. And I mean, this is an idea again. I just bounced past Giri to Giri Chitapa to ensure that I wasn't sure if it would work out, but I sent him the PPT anyway, the ones that I had done 11 years ago. Whatever you see now is just a extension of that. Anyways, now without further ado, I'll start off. So Black Sabbath, as most of you are aware, is again a British heavy metal band from the Birmingham side of England, which is the industrial heart, which I will talk about in greater detail. I mean, they are the godfather of heavy metal music, and heavy metal exists today with Black Sabbath. A little bit about, to elaborate further, their lineup had Ozzy Osbourne as their lead singer for the first 10 years, followed by Ian Gullen, Ian Gillian, right now, who is followed by Ronnie James Dio in the 80s. So that's Black Sabbath's journey as a whole, and the show is divided into two halves. First half I'll talk about Black Sabbath's journey in brief, and second half will be about the songs composed in the Aussie years and their lyrical analysis of sorts. So without further ado, here's the first instrumental that was Embryo, one of their many instrumentals from Master of Reality album. Moving on, we will be talking about the Aussie years, that is from 1968 to 79. The albums I will be covering here are their titular debut album, that is Black Sabbath, followed by Paranoid, Volume 4, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and of course, while Sabotage and Technical Ecstasy were a part of this repertoire, in the interest of time, I've only stuck to the first four albums because that is what made Black Sabbath Black Sabbath. Moving on, here's the next instrumental, which is Laguna Sunrise from Volume 4. So that was Laguna Sunrise from Volume 4. Now talking about the band members, there's Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, Bill Ward, and Ozzy Osbourne. So uh, yeah, starting off with the frontman Ozzy Osbourne, the late great Ozzy Osbourne, a troubled, charismatic kid from Aston, Birmingham, grew up dyslexic, bullied, and jailed briefly for petty crime when he was in high school. Wasn't a virtuoso when it came to singing, but he had tone, phrasing, and presence. His voice sounded human, slightly unhinged, which made darkness believable. And we have Tony Iommi, the architect, a disciplined guitarist whose career almost ended before it began. Last day at a sheet metal factory, lost the tips of two fingers in an accident, forced to adapt. He tuned down his guitar to reduce the string tension. That accident literally created heavy metal sound, which is lower tuning, thicker strings, and darker resonance. So this is something I'll have Rohit talk about eventually. Moving on, there's Geezer Butler, the bassist and the philosopher, the main person who was the key, who was the mind behind writing all Black Sabbath's anti-war songs that you can think of, be it War Pigs or Hand of Doom. He is the man behind that. And then last but not the least, Bill Ward, the heartbeat of Black Sabbath, a drummer who was influenced by the jazz, heavily influenced by jazz, and of course his drumming is what became the signature element of the Black Sabbath sound, as we'll hear in the upcoming tracks. Uh, Now we will hear a fluff. So that was fluff. Now moving on to the legends. Well, Black Sabbath, before they became Black Sabbath, started off as just another blues band called Polka Tulk Blues Band, and changed their name to Earth. Uh, it was in this journey that they realized that this wasn't working out, and that is when they realized that okay, they'll have to change their name. So before I talk about that in greater detail, let's hear an earlier version of Ozzy Osbourne, which might surprise a lot of you.
So you live your life precisely by the rules of the game. Is your mind an open page, or will it always be the same? It's a choice, master voice, and either hold his job. If your heart ain't with the rebel, would you cheer the underdog? When the bearer of his cover, do you take the cheat away? You recognize your conscience when there's danger in fair play. Is your mind a twilight dice because there's non-committal parts? If your heart ain't
That was Polka Tulk Blues, a different version of Ozzy. I'm sure surprised a lot of people here. Moving on, the name and concept, elaborating on that. The turning point came with the song of their titular album called Black Sabbath. there's written the song name is Black Sabbath, titular album is Black Sabbath, and the band name changed to Black Sabbath because of a Boris Karloff horror film with the same name. So Tony Iommi finally narrowed it down to drop tunings, including C sharp tuning or three semitones down before settling on E minor / D sharp tuning. So before we hear a sample of that, I would like Rohit to talk about this in greater detail. Rohit, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Nihar. Thank you for having me for this. Yeah, it's a little more technical, but I think it's nice is especially with the tuning style. If you look at the band gamut, of course, we heard a lot more cleaner things. I'm sure later on we'll hear more of the aggressive nature people are more used to hearing. They hear the name Black Sabbath. But that tuning in particular comes from the fact that bands wanted to sound heavier. Bands wanted to sort of keep that edge and that rush. So a starting of thumb was tuning the guitars lower. And what happened was with guitar tunings, essentially when you had a distortion or an overdrive, it kind of creates this very rumbly aggression that's way lower that resonated with people with the groove, resonated people with the tone. So it's a really strong way of showing this kind of presentation of heavier music, be it that the subject matter is also a lot heavier as well too. So the tunings in the way emotionally would affect people in the way you heard it, but also I think sonically would let Aussie do whatever he wanted. It's a lot more too. So I always find that tunings wise, um, be it E standard for some of the paranoid and Into the Void and that kind of stuff in C sharp, and then Tony sort of finding his way in between depending on the songs. Back to you, Neha. Mhm.
All right, now we'll listen to Into the Void. So that was Into the Void, a small snippet from Into the Void. Now moving on, what you see now is a cover, an album cover of their titular debut album, which is Black Sabbath. They have a titular song called Black Sabbath in the album itself, which I will talk about later in the show. Basically, this album marked the entry of heavy metal music to the world, introduction of heavy metal music to the world, and this is something, and this basically had something called the atmospheric sound defined by the tritone, which is a musically interval that is historically associated with the devil. By focusing on themes of fear and spiritual death rather than speed or particular, the record effectively invented heavy metal through sheer weight and menace. So their debut album is the reason why heavy metal sort of existed, and then moving on, after Black Sabbath, their first ever commercial success album came out in the same year, on September 18th, 1970. That is Paranoid. Paranoid was their first ever commercially successful album, which paved the path for their eventual commercials going towards the decade. It had songs like Iron Man, the accidental hit, title track Paranoid, which I'll talk about again later in the show as we progress with the show. And other songs include Fairies and Hand of Doom. For now, however, we will hear Rat Salad. And before Rat Salad is played, something I would like to mention here is that Geezer Butler's signature bass, Bill Watt's drumming, and Tony Iommi's lead guitaring, all of them are perfectly packaged here. So yeah, let's hear Rat Salad. So that was Rat Salad, as you've heard from the album Paranoid. Moving on after Paranoid, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, popularity rose. Master of Reality happened, which pushed the sonic boundaries, which paved way for genres like stoner rock and doom metal. Followed by Volume 4 and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. So for now, we will hear a small a sample of World before I proceed further, and finally you will get to hear a small sample of Aussie's a different version of Aussie that we are all used to. So yeah, let's hear a lot of this.
You're searching for your mind, don't know where to start. Can't find the key to fit the lock on your heart. You think you know, but you are never quite sure. Your soul is ill, but you will not find a cure. Yeah!
So that was Lord of this World, and there's another song which might surprise a lot of people over here. It's called Solitude. Again, Solitude is one of those experimental offbeat tracks which Black Sabbath had composed for this album. It has Tony Iommi playing the flute, and I would like to believe he's the one who sung this song as well. So let's hear Solitude as well.
My name, it means nothing. My fortune is less. My future is shrouded in dark wilderness. Sunshine is far away, clouds linger on. Everything I possess, now they are gone. They are gone. They are gone.
So that was Master of Reality. Moving on, after Master of Reality, Volume 4 happened. Volume 4, again, the band experimented in terms of using more instruments apart from the traditional instruments that are normally used in a heavy metal genre. They they started using the grand piano as well. They have a song called Changes, which is their well-known piano ballad. I don't know how that word is pronounced. My apologies for that. Which I will play, which will be played later in the show. For now, we will hear Supernaut followed by Wheels of Confusion from Volume 4. So that was the rise in popularity part. And then after Volume 4, of course, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath happened, which is widely viewed as their artistic masterpiece. Those songs I will play in the second half of the show. Moving on, there's the musical style, which I'm sure by now everyone would have figured out. There's heavy guitar riffs, there's Ozzy Osbourne's haunting voice and Bill Ward's heavy drumming. That's a part of the Sabbath, the whole Black Sabbath signature sound. So what you heard just now was a snippet of this song called Hand of Doom, which is again one of their well-known anti-war songs, which is widely used by a lot of social media influencers today. I'd like to have Rohit talk about their musical style as well, if possible. Rohit, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's important to know is that, especially, this is going to sound funny, I think, but this band is absolutely not my generation. Their first album came in the 1960s, and I was born in 2001. So clearly, it's been 60 years then. But despite that, the influence that they've had on the music that I make, the bands that I love, appreciate, and what's come out of it since then is truly incredible. I mean, so many artists within that the umbrella of what's come out of heavy metal, rock, and so many bands in so many ways has come from this. And of course, we can trace it back to the rock, the blues, and like so many of those forms of expressions are absolutely incredible to see. And sure, we can talk about the countermeasure, which is how this was very much not in the way of, like, say, the artists from Liverpool, like the Beatles, Yardbirds, and so forth. Very much a different kind of sound. But I think a lot of people idolize it because it's so honest, it's so true. It's very much something that people can get with, despite however hard life might be. And it's a great way that being the voice to get that way out for people. So
this band was from Birmingham, right? So can
yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So just as Nihar mentioned too, Birmingham's a very gloomy environment. I mean, a lot of people out there, you're looking at people struggling, people barely able to survive, and just about getting by. So what happened was and also the constant rain, the constant gray clouds. So what happens is, I think we can talk about like there's London and like several other places that like people ideally say that's the UK I want to see, and then this is also just as much a big part of it. So the style and sound reflects in the environment from where they're from, and it's really cool to see that how this style has resonated over so long and so many years. So being from Birmingham and really embracing that as when they were Earth with the blues sound, and then fully embracing we are Black Sabbath. This is our sound, this is our heaviness, and then forming legions of bands and artists after that. And I'm very much in the umbrella of I would not have the dedication to music if it wasn't for these guys, because they also got me into metal. So yeah, absolutely. Back to you, Nihar.
Thank you, Rohit. So that brings us to today's focus, which is basically my whole whatever the topic of research paper I had done all those years ago, and now it's the same thing, which is to understand how Black Sabbath invented heavy metal. Yes, number one, and number two, through the selected songs that I have kept in place, I just want to show that while heavy metal is all about the noise, is all about the heavy, what do you say, the reflection of the society they are from, it's also about what's going on in the world today, what was happening back then, and is somehow relevant even now. So that will be today's focus. And our first song, the first song that I'll be analyzing here is Paranoid, which is again an accidental hit. And by accidental hit, so to give context on an accidental hit aspect, well, back in the day, it was just 30 minutes you had to record an album, and they had Black Sabbath had 3 minutes left. Tony Iommi just came up with a riff. Later, when the band got back together after the break, they wrote the lyrics, and that's how Paranoid was born. So, Paranoid basically is fast up-tempo track that reflects the anger and the angst of people of the time. So, without further ado, let's hear Paranoid.
Caught up with you. Now you wait your turn. You know there's no return. Take your empty rose. You join the other fools. Turn to something new. Now it's killing you. First it was the bomb. Vietnam, Nepal. Disillusioning. You push the needle in.
All right, so that was Hand of Doom that played. My bad, my apologies. That was Hand of Doom that played. Right now, that is again Hand of Doom, a well-known, very well-known anti-war song. Now we'll hear Paranoid.
Finished with my woman 'cause she couldn't help me with my mind. People think I'm insane because I am frowning all the time. All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify. Can you help me? Occupy my brain. Oh yeah.
So that was Paranoid, one of Black Sabbath's well-known accidental hits, and is probably one of the most streamed songs on Spotify. Moving on, there's War Pigs. So War Pigs again is a well-known anti-war song which came out during the Vietnam War, along with the Hand of Doom, as we've heard earlier. So again, War Pigs was more in your face, upfront in terms of the lyric, and from a lyrical standpoint, where Black Sabbath as a band clearly called out the politicians being responsible for creating the warlike atmosphere across the globe that we are going through even right now as we speak. So yeah, let's hear War Pigs now.
Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning. Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah.
So that was War Pigs, one of the most well-known anti-war songs out there by Black Sabbath. Moving on, this changes from the album Volume 4. Now, Changes again is a very antithesis of kind of a Black Sabbath song, because it's not heavy metal; it's a piano ballad which talks about the grief. Which talks about grief, what an individual goes through after going through a personal tragedy in life. So yeah, and this is a song which, on a different note, Youngblood had performed at the time of Aussie's passing, and he went on to win the Grammy Award for best performance. So yeah, let's hear Changes.
I feel unhappy, I feel so sad. I've lost the best friend that I ever had. She was my woman, I loved her so. But it's too late now, I've let her go. I'm going through changes. I'm going through changes.
So that was Changes from the album Volume 4. Moving on, our next song is Iron Man, which basically tells a sci-fi tale of a man who travels to the future and witnesses the world's destruction, only to be turned into the same thing that he feared. So, in long story short, Iron Man is that song which perfectly encapsulates the saying, you either die hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And one thing before we hear the sample of Iron Man, one thing I'd like everyone to pay attention to is the typical Black Sabbath signature sound, which Rohit had spoken about, is something that is very evident here. So let's hear Iron Man. So that was Iron Man from the album Paranoid. Now moving on, again we have another song from Paranoid. This one's called Fairies Wear Boots, and while it's called Fairies Wear Boots, the reason for calling giving the name to that song as Fairies is basically the band while rehearsing at Birmingham were attacked by a bunch of teenagers who were working in a nearby factory, and the band decided to call their aggressors as fairies who were wearing heavy boots. Hence, the song name was called Fairies Wear Boots. So that is what Fairies Wear Boots essentially means. So let's hear Fairies Wear Boots.
Going home late last night. Suddenly I got a fright. Yeah, I looked through a window and surprised what I saw. Fairy boots are dancing with the dwarf. Oh, right now. Yeah,
So that was Fairies Wear Boots. Next, we have Never Say Die, the from the album Never Say Die. Again, this album was released to mark the band's 10th anniversary, and it's a very ironical album because it was after this album that Black Sabbath that Ozzy Osbourne departed from the band, or rather he was kicked out of the band because he was dating the band manager's daughter, his current wife, that is Sharon Osbourne. So while Never Say Die was a reminder that it was a bittersweet milestone that the band made it for 10 years, it was also an end to mark the end of the original Ozzy Osbourne era. So let's hear Never Say Die.
people going nowhere, taking for a ride, looking for the answers that they know inside, searching for a reason, looking for a rhyme. No one better than partners in crime. Don't they ever have to worry? Don't you ever wonder why? It's the thought of me that kills you. Don't you ever say die.
So that was Never Said. Moving on, we have the next song is from the album Master of Reality, that is, and the song name is Children of the Grave. So the video that you will see right now is from one of their last shows that was done back in 2013 or 2014, sorry, 2015, if my memory serves me. This song essentially points out that children are the future citizens across the globe, and if nothing is done to protect them, then they will soon die an untimely death and become children of the grave. So that is the entire essence of the song. And again, it's a typical Black Sabbath song talking about existentialism with the trademark Ozzy Osbourne vocals, Tony Iommi's riffs, and Bill Watts drumming along with Geezer Butler's lyrics as well. So let's hear Children of the Grave.
Jump! Come on, you guys, come on. Come on, let's go crazy!
So that was Children of the Grave. This was a live concert version. Moving on, there's Wizard from Black Sabbath from their titular album Black Sabbath. Now, once you've heard Children of the Grave and you hear Wizard, you will realize that there's a lot of stark contrast in terms of, Master of Reality was a complete evolution of Black Sabbath in terms of their sound and their lyrics and vocals, whereas Wizard is on the other side of the spectrum, which is basically it shows the raw form of Black Sabbath, and the lyrics essentially is inspired from the character Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings, and uses harmonica or mouth organ as well to tell a story of a figure who dispels darkness with his presence. So let's hear a snippet from The Wizard.
Misty morning, clouds in the sky. Without warning, a wizard walks by, casting his shadow, weaving his spell. Some great cloud, twinkling bell. Never talking, just keeps walking, nothing is magic.
Moving on, next is next is this song called Snowblind from the album Volume 4. Now, the next couple of songs that you'll hear, this is something, I mean, I wasn't really comfortable, to be honest, at the time of mentioning this in front of the panel in college, and even here, same thing follows, but uh, that is how Black Sabbath were at the end of the day. They were raw and honest to themselves. So Snowblind essentially talks about their affiliation towards cocaine and the seductive and destructive aspect as well. So that is what Snowblind is in a nutshell. So yeah, let's hear Snowblind.
What you get and what you see, things that don't come easily. Feeling happy in my brain, icicles within my brain. Something glowing in my head.
So that was Snowblind, and moving on, the next song is called Sweet Leaf, which Sweet Leaf is also another song that falls under the same bucket, which is Black Sabbath admitting that they like marijuana. So it functions as a bold tribute to marijuana. Like I said, it openly celebrates the band's preference, and as a tool for relaxation and spiritual expansion. It concludes on a hopeful countercultural note, expressing a desire for a future where society would move past stigma and accept the use of marijuana. So yeah, that is what Sweet Leaf is. So let's hear Sweet Leaf.
All right now.
The next song is called. Okay, next song is a very deceptively titled song called "Evil Woman," and I'm using the word deceptively titled with a lot of thought, because this song basically reflects on modern social behavior, suggesting that human beings, as much as we'd like to be honest, we are equally deceptive as well for the sake of our own survival. So that is what the entire song "Evil Woman" is about. Please do not judge the song by the title. That is all I would say. So let's hear "Evil Woman." So that was the deceptively titled song "Evil Woman." Moving on, talking about Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, their artistical masterpiece, which Black Sabbath uses instrument called the mellotron over here, and by this time, Black Sabbath were releasing albums back to back. They had released around about 4 or 5 albums in the span of 2 years. So creative block hit, and that is when they took a year's gap, went to a castle in Scotland, brainstormed, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was born. So the titular song of this album, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, is a powerful critique of how society systematically crushes the individual spirit, forcing people to trade their inner truth for a life filled with lies and fallacies. So it's basically Sabbath Bloody Sabbath just shows society. Black Sabbath tried showing society the mirror that, hey, this is who we are at the end of the day. So let's hear Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And before the song is played, again you will see that you'll hear the difference between their first album, Evil Woman, the song that you heard just now, versus what an artistic masterpiece looks like. So yeah, let's hear Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. So that was Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, their article masterpiece. So now we're down to last two songs. The penultimate song being Black Sabbath from their titular album Black Sabbath. Like there's too much Black Sabbath happening here. It's Inception basically. Anyways, so the story behind the song is that this song was inspired from the horror film Black Sabbath, and the song begins with rain, church bells, and a tritone, which was long known as in Musica, which basically meant that this wasn't blues rock anymore. This was doom. So let's hear Black Sabbath.
turn around quick and start to run.
So that was Black Sabbath from the regular album Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. The last and final song whose lyrical analysis I've done is called NIB, which is basically the song, two lines, talks about Satan falling in love with a woman, and like the wizard, which we heard before, NIB also covers three important themes, which is fear, evil as a human creation, and spiritual dread, which is the core theme of not just NIB but all of Black Sabbath songs, especially in the Aussie era that we've heard, that are out there so far. So let's hear NIB.
Some people say my love cannot be true. Please believe me, my love, and I'll show you. I will give you those things you thought unreal. The sun, the moon, the stars, all bear my seal. Oh yeah. Follow me now, and you will not regret.
So that was NIB from their titular album, debut album Black Sabbath. And now story short, Ozzy Osbourne's departure and legacy happened after Never Say Die album was out, and that is where the band pivoted from having Ozzy Osbourne as the frontman to Ronnie James Dio, who was at the time with Rainbow. From here, Ozzy Osbourne went on to launch his solo career and started something called Ozfest with his wife Sharon, which became a global platform for the next generation of heavy metal music. And then, of course, like Rohit has mentioned, they were architects of heavy metal music, which paved way for bands like Metallica, Iron Maiden, and Slayer. Following this, of course, Ozzy Osbourne, who's commonly known as the Prince of Darkness, got his name after his tenure with Black Sabbath and was finally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the year 2006. Now, before we end the show, here's another anti-war song called "A Hard Road," which is from the last album of Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne as the lead singer. So yeah, let's hear "A Hard Road." So that was a hard road, and finally, rest in power to Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, for all the work that he's done, it's ironic that he only won one Grammy award for the song "God Is Dead" from the album 13, which was part of the reunion album that came out in 2013. Uh, and like as much as we, it's tough to say goodbye to the darkness. The spirit of heavy metal remains rooted in the sound they pioneered, a roar that transformed the grit of Birmingham into a global eternal legacy. And over here, I'd like to have Rohit pitch in for the last time and, have his thoughts as well on this, because he's he's super critical of this aspect of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. So let's hear what Rohit has to say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think what they've defined for all of us artists, I mean, as a lot of you are familiar with, um, be it that I'm now in the either rock or progressive rock or now doing more fusion and Carnatic, still on the guitar. And what's nice is still, and also my work being with Prasanna as well. Like even at Windmills, he played like a little bit of Burn by Deep Purple. So even in the whole sphere of the Indian musicians and artists who've come out of there, and the metal people who I'm also around most of the time, we all owe so much to Aussie and to Sabbath and how much that they've done for our artistry, for our music, and our dedication to why we play, practice, and discipline ourselves to then keep going forward. I think the perspectives are, of course, being actively a musician versus being in, like the audience and spectating and listening and supporting, of course. But the love and passion has not changed since from when they were doing it to the influences I have, and then to me and people in my generation doing it. So it's an absolutely, it was hard for me when he had passed. And I remember posting about it, and Aussie's bassist at the time, I think, had reached out to me after on one of the posts I had done. So super grateful for that. But still, it was absolutely incredible so Nihar, thank you for having me be a part of this. Absolute honor here, and I can't wait to see where metal goes from here and being a part of it. Yeah. And thank you.
Thank you. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the end. Sorry, that's the end of the show. I'll hand it over to Irichitappa for the closing note.
Yeah, thanks. Thank Nihar and Rohit. Especially thanks to Rohit for joining in. It was definitely unplanned. If it had been planned, I think I would have invited a lot more people to come to the show just to hear you. But anyway, it was great to hear you. This will be a recording which will go out on YouTube. I hope we have your permission to put that out, because that's really
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So thanks, Nihar. I think there's a lot of effort. I think you went off script a few places, but still it was okay.
Thank you.
It came back.
Happens.
That matters.
Yeah.
Happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was really nice, especially because for me it was an education. I started thinking about Ozzy Osbourne only after he passed away, and that's when I think you got in touch with me, and we decided we should do a
Yes.
show on Ozzy Osbourne. That was supposed to happen within a month of his passing away, but it's been a while now. But still, it was worth the wait. Thanks a lot.